Okay, today we'll talk about four architects, nothing less. We begin with YAKOV CHERNIKHOV. Let's read a little bit about him. But before we read, here is a picture of him with low resolution. So, Yakov Georgievich Chernikhov, born on the 5th of December 1889, and he died on this day, the 9th of May, 1951. So we are today on May 9th, but in 2023. He died in Moscow, the Soviet Union, was a constructivist architect and graphic designer. His books on architectural design, published in Leningrad between 1927 and 1933, are amongst the most innovative texts and illustrations of their time. His influence was felt to this day on various people. Chernikhov was born to a poor family, one of 11 children. After studying at the Grekov Odessa Art School, Ukraine, he moved in 1914 to Petrograd in St. Petersburg and joined the architecture faculty of the Imperial Academy of Arts in 1916, where he later studied under Léon Benoit. Greatly interested in the futurist movements, including constructivism and suprematism of Malevich, with whom he was acquainted, he set out his ideas in a series of books in the late 20s and early 30s, so 100 years ago. The Art of Graphic Representation, Fundamentals of Contemporary Architecture, The Construction of Architectural and Machine Forms, and 101 Architectural Fantasies. The latter, a very fine example of color printing, was perhaps the last avant-garde art book to be published in Russia during the Stalinist era. Its remarkable designs uncannily predict the architecture of the later 20th century. However, his unusual ideas meant that Chernikhov was distrusted by the regime. Although he continued work as a teacher and held a number of one-man shows, few of his designs were built and very few appear to have survived. Amongst the latter is the Tower of the Red Nailer, interesting name, factory in St. Petersburg. And we are going to see an image of it. Chernikhov also produced a number of richly designed architectural fantasies of historic architecture, which were never exhibited in his lifetime. A book on the construction of letter forms containing some of his typographical designs was published after his death in 1959. Chernikhov produced some 17,000 drawings and projects and was dubbed the Soviet Piranesi. On the 8th of August 2006, it was announced that some hundreds of Chernikhov's drawings with an estimated value of $1,300,000 had gone missing from the Russian state archives. Some 274 have been recovered in Russia and abroad. Okay, so Tower of the Red Nailer factory in St. Petersburg, the only building that we are going to see by him, but it doesn't look bad, even, solitary as it is, has something of his drawings, and we are going to see his drawings, but only a part of his drawing, the so-called futurist part, because he also has, you see here a rendering, some kind of a rendering of this project that he built, YAKOV CHERNIKHOV. Drawings. And I'm not going to show 17,000 of them, but I'm going to show a number of them. These are architectural fantasies, but these architectural fantasies influenced architects like Bernard Tschumi in our time. The Russian or the Soviet Piranesi. Yakov Chernikhov. But he has another side, as you can see, historicist. Between this drawing and this one, there is no relationship. They are very different. So you wonder, how come the same man? I guess he had dualities, like, you see this drawing, and then you see this drawing. So what do they have in common? Almost nothing, except that the same man made them. In a way, you could say something sad about, an architect who just draws and draws and draws, but doesn't build. But what can you do? Some people are lucky, some people are not lucky. And, some very talented architects express themselves through drawings. Even some very accomplished architects like Le Corbusier and Frank Lloyd Wright, to name just two of them, at periods in their lives when they drew and drew and drew and built less. Although Wright built more than 500 buildings. This drawing is indeed very Piranesian, and it's actually very nice. Yakov Chernikhov. Well, if William Faulkner's advice to us to always dream is correct, then we could say that Yakov Chernikhov's activity had some meaning too.